Are you aware that a seemingly innocuous activity like your morning shower could be covertly jeopardizing your life? It may seem implausible, as showering is a routine aspect of daily life. However, what if I informed you that the timing of your shower could significantly elevate your risk of falling, fainting, or even experiencing a life-threatening incident, particularly if you are over 70? Recently, a healthy 75-year-old man named Stanley Peterson was discovered collapsed on the bathroom floor of his suburban home. In Massachusetts, he maintained a healthy lifestyle and attended regular medical appointments. However, one morning, everything altered due to a shower taken during a critical period now referred to by medical researchers as the danger zone for seniors. After the age of 65, physiological changes occur that often go unnoticed. Blood pressure becomes increasingly erratic, core body temperature declines overnight, and vision deteriorates in low-light conditions. When these factors are compounded by hot water exposure, medications, and early morning dehydration, it creates an optimal scenario for adverse effects. An accident occurs, and most seniors remain oblivious until it is too late. Stanley's incident is not an isolated occurrence. It reflects a burgeoning concern substantiated by research from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and the National Institute on Aging. Nevertheless, this issue receives scant attention. This video aims to elucidate the 7 concealed hazards of showering at inappropriate times and to demonstrate minor, life-saving modifications to your daily routine. Our intention is not to instill fear, but to empower. This information equips you to safeguard yourself, your spouse, or your elderly parents. You will discover the reasons behind potential blood pressure drops during showers, how overnight dehydration can elevate your fall risk by 70%, and the critical error seniors often make regarding their medications and morning showers. Furthermore, every proposed solution is straightforward, practical, and entirely manageable. Therefore, if you are over 65 or care for someone who is, do not overlook this opportunity. Subscribe immediately and activate notifications, as the upcoming content is essential. Minutes can genuinely save a life. Let us commence with the most perilous time for seniors during showers, and the reason it remains an overlooked topic, the concealed hazard of early morning showers. Frank Delaney never contemplated his morning ritual. Each day, just prior to dawn, he would awaken silently, don his robe, and proceed to the bathroom before anyone else was awake. It provided him tranquility and a sense of purpose. At 7, living alone in a tranquil neighborhood outside Boston, that 6 a.m. shower was one of the few. He cherished moments of solitude. However, one morning, an unfortunate event transpired. His daughter, Linda, unexpectedly arrived for a breakfast visit. She rang the bell, but received no response. The coffee she had brought remained warm when she discovered him unconscious on the bathroom floor, his skin pale and the water still running. The paramedics indicated that his blood pressure had plummeted so rapidly that he collapsed before he could summon assistance. The doctors subsequently elucidated a concept unfamiliar to Linda, referred to as the morning surge. As individuals age, particularly after the age of 70, their bodies exhibit diminished regulation of blood pressure. Overnight, blood pressure typically decreases during sleep. However, in the early morning hours, specifically between 4 and 8 a.m., it experiences a rapid spike. This acute elevation, particularly when coupled with standing hot water and certain medications, constitutes what researchers now refer to as the perfect storm for heart attacks, strokes, and fainting episodes. Harvard Medical School has documented that seniors are 80% more likely to experience a serious cardiovascular event when showering. During that early morning period, most individuals remain oblivious. They assert, "I have always showered in the morning. It has never posed an issue." However, aging alters the dynamics. What was once innocuous can now become perilous, not due to any fault of your own, but because your body undergoes subtle transformations that may go unnoticed until it is too late. Frank experienced no forewarning or indication that his tranquil morning routine would fail him. The reality is that this could occur to anyone, your neighbor, your spouse, or even yourself. Fortunately, this risk is entirely preventable. By merely adjusting your shower time to later in the morning, specifically between 10 a.m. and noon, you enable your body to stabilize blood pressure and restore alertness. A minor alteration can yield a life-saving impact. Consider this today. Is your current shower schedule endangering you or a loved one? A sticky note on the mirror, a slight modification in routine, it could be significant. Furthermore, when hot water transforms into an insidious hazard. For over 3 decades, Dorothy Mills commenced her mornings in the same manner. During a prolonged hot shower, she found solace, a gentle awakening facilitated by the steam, warmth, and the soothing sound of water, akin to an embrace for both body and spirit. However, last winter, an unsettling change occurred. As she entered the shower, the water remained as warm as usual, yet an unexpected wave of dizziness enveloped her. Her heart raced, and her vision momentarily blurred. She grasped the grab bar to stabilize herself, an experience that was profoundly frightening. At her subsequent checkup, her doctor conveyed something that astonished her. He elucidated that as individuals age, their bodies diminish in their capacity to regulate temperature as effectively as before. Post the age of 70, the internal thermostat experiences a deceleration. Consequently, we fail to acclimatize to abrupt temperature fluctuations with the same swiftness. A comforting hot shower may indeed induce thermal shock, particularly when taken in the early morning when core body temperature is at its nadir. This thermal shock can disorient the cardiovascular system, leading to sudden vasodilation from the heat, a decrease in blood pressure, and a compensatory response from the heart. Compensate occasionally induces irregular rhythms, potentially resulting in fainting. Dorothy's physician was not being alarmist. He was being forthright. Instances have been documented of elderly individuals experiencing severe cardiac events during or shortly after a hot morning shower, not due to illness, but rather due to thermal shock that the body could not withstand. Fortunately, Dorothy implemented 2 straightforward modifications. First, she lowered her water temperature to lukewarm, approximately 95 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It remained comfortable, but ceased to shock her system. Second, her grandson assisted in the installation of a skull prevention valve, a modest yet cost-effective device that prevents the water temperature from inadvertently becoming excessively hot. These minor modifications restored her tranquilly and safeguarded her from an unseen risk. Thus, consider when you last verified the actual temperature of your shower water. Is it excessively hot for a heart that no longer recuperates as it once did? Additionally, the perilous timing of blood pressure medication is pertinent. Every morning at precisely 6:30, George Whitman would retrieve his minuscule white pill, his prescribed dosage of Leopold, and wash it down with a glass of water. This ritual had been his practice for years. Subsequently, he would shuffle down the hallway in his slippers and proceed directly to the shower. It appeared to be an innocuous routine until one Tuesday morning when his wife, Eleanor, heard a loud thud emanating from the bathroom. She hurried in to discover George slumped on the floor, disoriented and pallid. His heart was still beating, yet he was unable to stand and could scarcely articulate. At the hospital, the physicians connected that George experienced a sudden and severe decline in blood pressure, medically referred to as hypotension. The cause was a dual drop effect that occurs more frequently than commonly acknowledged. Initially, the blood pressure medication reaches its peak concentration in George's system approximately 1 to 2 hours post-administration. Subsequently, the hot water and standing position in the shower further dilated his blood vessels, exacerbating the decrease in blood pressure. This was a silent peril that could have easily resulted in fatality. According to cardiologists at the Mayo Clinic, this overlap between medication. The impact of morning showering is a frequently underestimated hazard for seniors. The issue lies not with the medication itself, but rather with the timing, particularly when taken immediately prior to showering during the body's most susceptible period. Following a concerning incident, George implemented 2 straightforward modifications. He now allows a minimum of 2 hours after ingesting his blood pressure medication before entering the shower, thereby providing his body with adequate time to acclimatize. Additionally, he has adjusted his showering routine to mid-morning, around 10:30 a.m., when his energy stabilizes and his blood pressure is less prone to decline. These minor adjustments restored his sense of security and provided Eleanor with tranquility. Therefore, if you are on blood pressure medication, whether it be lisinopril, amlodipine, or another prevalent prescription, consider your timing. Is your daily routine inadvertently predisposing you to a decline? You possess the ability to alter that beginning tomorrow morning, for the hazards that remain invisible until it is too late. It was still dark when Walter, at 81, Jennings shuffled towards the bathroom, intent on avoiding waking his wife, so he refrained from illuminating the hallway. He contemplated a swift shower, as he did each morning. However, tranquility was abruptly disrupted by a crash. His wife, Carol, discovered him collapsed on the bathroom floor, one leg contorted and a towel rack partially dislodged from the wall. Walter had slipped on a small puddle he failed to notice, not due to negligence, but because his vision at that early hour was insufficient to discern the hazard. Doctors subsequently confirmed he had sustained a hip fracture. A slight deviation in direction could have resulted in a head injury. This narrative is recounted all too frequently. As we age, our contrast sensitivity, the capacity to differentiate between objects, shadows, and edges, diminishes. In low light, particularly during the pre-dawn hours, the bathroom transforms into a perilous environment. White tiles, clear water, and slippery surfaces merge, rendering hazards indistinguishable. The National Institute on Aging indicates that seniors over 70 may experience up to a 60% reduction in visual acuity in low light conditions. Minor hazards, such as a wet floor or the edge of a bath mat, can become invisible until an accident occurs. However, this risk is entirely preventable. Following his fall, Walter's son installed motion-activated night lights in the hallway and bathroom, ensuring that the area illuminates gently as Walter enters, eliminating the need for switches or navigating in darkness. Additionally, they replaced the dull, faded bath mat with a vibrant yellow non-slip mat that is easily visible even in low light. These straightforward modifications significantly enhance safety. Transforming the bathroom from a hazard into a sanctuary requires introspection regarding the efficacy of your lighting. Does it adequately illuminate the floor, shower edge, and towel hook without causing eye strain? If your response is anything but an unequivocal affirmative, it is imperative to implement minor enhancements that could yield significant improvements. Often, the most substantial dangers are those that remain unnoticed. If this video has instilled in you a newfound awareness or a moment of optimism for yourself, a parent, or a loved one, please share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes, simply sharing can be impactful. That hope can motivate another individual to take action as well. What minor adjustment will you implement commencing tomorrow? 5. The concealed dangers of morning dehydration. At 7:15 each morning, Marvin Blake would enter the bathroom, activate the water, and immerse himself in the warm cascade of his daily shower. He neglected to consume breakfast beforehand and scarcely ingested any water. "I'll hydrate later," he consistently assured his wife, Evelyn. However, one morning, Marvin did not emerge from the shower. He had been experiencing mild dizziness for several days, but dismissed it as. On that day, he lost consciousness. His legs buckled, and he fell in the bathtub. It took Evelyn several minutes to recognize that something was amiss. When the paramedics arrived, they provided an explanation that had never been conveyed before. Marvin's body was significantly dehydrated, which likely precipitated his collapse. Most individuals are unaware that the body awakens dehydrated each morning. Prolonged hours of sleep without hydration result in diminished blood volume, reduced circulation, and increased susceptibility of muscles to fatigue. For the elderly, this dehydration can have serious implications. Dizziness, weakness, or abrupt hypotension, particularly when standing in a hot shower, compounded by the warmth of the water, an upright position, and mild morning fatigue, creates an ideal scenario for a bathroom fall. Dr. William Parker, a prominent researcher in geriatric hydration, elucidates that for seniors, dehydration may not manifest as thirst. Rather, it presents as lightheadedness, akin to a prelude to a fall. The remedy is remarkably straightforward, yet frequently disregarded. Consequently, each morning before Marvin showers, he consumes a glass of water, approximately 8 ounces, is placed on the nightstand, and it is the first action he undertakes upon rising. Within 15 minutes, he experiences increased steadiness, clarity, and readiness for the day. This singular action has evolved into a life-preserving habit. Thus, consider this inquiry. When you awaken tomorrow, will your body be prepared for the shower, or will it be subtly depleting, poised to destabilize you? Do not await a fright. Commence with a sip. 6. When no one is present to witness your fall. At 5:45 a.m., the sun had not yet risen. Over Florence Green's tranquil residence in rural Indiana. The air was cool, the house silent, and at 74, Florence was commencing her customary morning routine, a brief shower prior to her morning coffee and crossword puzzle. However, that morning, an incident occurred. She slipped. One moment she was stable. The next she found herself on the cold tile floor, her leg painfully contorted beneath her, steam enveloping her like fog. She attempted to move, to call for help, but no one was present. Her phone lay in the living room, and the bathroom door was closed. Florence lived alone. It was not until nearly 9 a.m. that her neighbor knocked on the door to deliver some mail and heard faint banging from within. She had been lying there for over 3 hours, engulfed in pain and solitude. The emergency team stated she was fortunate. She did not suffer from hypothermia, and her fracture was manageable. However, the fear persisted, the realization that had no one visited, she could have remained there all day, or worse. This occurrence is not uncommon. In fact, according to the Emergency Medicine Journal, falls that transpire between 4 o'clock and 8 a.m. are frequent. Remain undetected for hours, particularly among seniors who reside alone or have minimal morning interaction with family. The tranquil hours of early morning transform into a perilous silence. However, a solution exists that every senior ought to contemplate. Following her fall, Florence's son installed a waterproof emergency call button within arm's reach of the shower in the bathroom. This device wirelessly connects to a base in the home and can promptly alert family members. Now, should an incident occur, assistance is merely a button press away. Additionally, she established a daily check-in. Establish a routine of a brief call or text with her daughter by 7:30 each morning. This minute of connection serves as a small ritual of reassurance. In the context of bathroom falls, the impact of the fall is not the primary concern. Rather, it is the duration of time spent on the floor awaiting assistance. Therefore, consider asking yourself or a loved one, if you fell at 5 a.m., how long would it take for someone to discover you? How long would it take for someone to notice? If the duration exceeds 1 hour, it is time for a change. 7. Each morning around 5:30, Franklin Davis commenced his day in a consistent manner. He would shuffle into the bathroom, activate the hot water, and stand silently as the steam dissipated the remnants of sleep. This was his method of gradually acclimating to the day, slow and quiet. However, one morning, something felt amiss. The water was warmer than usual, though not intolerable. He adjusted the faucet, or so he believed. A minute later, he experienced a sharp sting marked his skin, turning red where the water had become scalding hot. Franklin yelped and recoiled, but it was too late. He sustained second-degree burns on his left arm and shoulder. What astonished him most was not the injury itself, but rather his failure to notice the temperature change immediately. Later, his neurologist elucidated a concept Franklin had never contemplated: the time frame between 4 o'clock and 8 a.m. The cognitive function of the brain, particularly in seniors, reaches its nadir during the early morning hours. Reaction time, decision-making, and even basic awareness are significantly diminished. This phenomenon is not indicative of intelligence, but rather a matter of circadian rhythm. The brain has not yet fully awakened, despite the body being alert. Research conducted at Stanford indicates that reaction times in older adults can decline by as much as 30% in the early morning, thereby increasing the likelihood of minor misjudgments, such as slipping on wet tiles or miscalculating water temperature. Consequently, the optimal time for seniors to shower is during the late morning or early afternoon, ideally between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. By this time, cognitive clarity is enhanced, sensory perception is heightened, and the body has adequately acclimated to the day. Franklin's daughter also implemented a shower timer with a gentle chime that subtly signals when it is time to conclude, aiding in maintaining alertness and awareness of duration, thereby preventing both overheating and mental disengagement. He now showers closer to noon and has encountered no issues since. Thus, consider this. Are you showering when your cognitive faculties are optimal? Are you genuinely prepared to assist? Or are you relying on uncertain instincts that may not suffice? A minor alteration in timing could distinguish between a secure commencement to your day and an unforeseen mishap. In the tranquil intervals of our daily rituals, it is simple to overlook the fragility of life. A warm shower, a familiar corridor, a morning routine we have maintained for decades, these elements appear secure. However, as time progresses, even the most trivial routines warrant reevaluation, for aging is not merely a decline in strength. Learning to care for ourselves with greater wisdom, awareness, and grace transcends mere accident prevention. It involves honoring the life we have cultivated, the independence we have achieved, and safeguarding it with the same diligence we extend to our loved ones. Minor adjustments can manifest as acts of love, not only for our bodies, but also for our futures. Embrace this notion. Safety is not an act of capitulation. It is a manifestation of strength. Exercising caution is not a sign of weakness. It is a demonstration of wisdom. I have lived long enough to understand that every step, every breath, and every tranquil morning holds significance. This is a lesson valuable at any age. If this video resonated with you or provided a fresh perspective on your daily routine, please take a moment to like and share it with someone you cherish. Additionally, if you desire more gentle, life-enhancing advice, do not forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Together, we can cultivate strength, wisdom, and safety.